Hello, Skywalkers. I'm Machine Pun Kelly, and I'm back with another BlueSky help video. One of the questions I get asked the most on BlueSky is about how to get more engagement. It's not just followers, although that's part of it. It's interaction that people want. This is, after all, social media. Before we get going, let me first establish that I have some credentials on the topic. I currently have over 150,000 followers on BlueSky and another 70,000 on X. I'm included on over 2,500 lists and starter packs on BlueSky and get well over 1,000 comments a day. I've learned some lessons in building that audience, and I'd like to share those lessons with you. But before I go on, let's keep this a judgment-free zone. If you don't care how many followers you have and are comfortable with that, that's great. If someone wants engagement, though, that doesn't mean they're wrong either. It's like the introvert versus extrovert conversation. Nothing is wrong with either. People are just who they are. So with these qualifiers out of the way, let's get social. Here are some tips on how to gain followers and increase engagement on BlueSky. First, manage your expectations and be patient. For perspective, at the time of this recording, there were about 980 million posts, which had garnered a total of about 4.7 billion likes. That means the average post has a little under 5 likes. Close to 30 million users have a total of about 2 billion followers. That means the average account has about 65 followers. I didn't grow my audience overnight. It took nearly 2 years before I got to even 1,000 followers on Twitter, as it was still known as Twitter back then. And I do think there are some tools in BlueSky that will make that growth a lot easier, but you should still manage expectations. I'll show later in this video what those tools are and how you can use them to grow your account. But for now, understand that growth is exponential, not incremental. It's like a snowball rolling downhill. The larger it gets, the faster it rolls, and the larger it gets, and the faster it rolls, and so on. You'll go from 100 to 200 followers a lot faster than 0 to 100. For that reason, you should focus on doubling more than absolute numbers. If you can double every few months, you're doing fantastic. And as you keep doubling, you'll see massive growth down the road. Second, engage. The most important thing you can do is engage. But just engaging doesn't assure growth or replies. Learn to target your engagement. There are 2 types of engagement you should be utilizing if you want to grow your account. These 2 types of engagement are your original posts and your replies. Your original posts. You should post original posts, even if you don't have a single follower, for one simple reason. When people go to follow someone, often they'll look at their account, and one of the first things they'll look at is your post history. If you don't have a post history, they might assume you're just a troll or a bot, as that's indicative of a troll or bot account. So make sure you just post something every now and then, so that people can say, okay, this is a real person. If they think you're a real person and they were interested in something you posted, they're more likely to follow you. And when you post something original, let it be unique. Don't just post the same take that a bunch of other people are already taking. Be you. Share your opinion and your perspective. And don't overly filter yourself on those either. You wouldn't believe how terrible some of my puns were that blew up. If you post 10 things, that's 10 times the likelihood things are going to blow up than if you just post one thing. And the thing that blows up might be a thing that you would have self-filtered. As you post more, you'll get a feel for what does and doesn't work for you too. So don't be afraid of trying new things. You might surprise yourself. Also, when someone replies to your post, make sure you reply to them, especially as you're getting up and running. For the first several years, I tried to reply to every single reply until it just got to where there were too many to respond to all of them. Remember, these are people who've already shown an interest in your post. So replying to them and engaging with them is more likely to gain you a follow. The second way is your replies to other posts. A great way to grow your account quickly is reply to other accounts. Particularly when you're a smaller account, more eyes will find your replies than your original posts. I've often had popular replies in my posts, which result in dozens of followers. And since these don't depend on the size of your account, but the account you're replying to, they're a great way to grow a small account. Even replying to popular replies can get seen more than an original post. In fact, sometimes that is the best strategy, because there are a lot of eyes on replies to massive accounts, but the replies to the replies don't get as much competition. Furthermore, if people are replying to replies, there is a conversation going on, they're engaged in that conversation, and they're more likely to respond to your post, whether that's a like, a follow, or both. Also, if you reply to the giant accounts, your replies can be just lost in the shuffle, and it will be hard for the original poster to see yours. Trust me, when you're getting a few thousand replies a day, it's very hard to see, much less respond to every single one. So one thing that is helpful is to reply on the medium large accounts, like the ones between 10 and 50,000 followers. Most of these accounts will see your reply and are more likely to respond to your reply, which increases your visibility and your likelihood of getting more engagement. As you grow, your replies will be more likely to show up in larger accounts and be replied to by larger accounts. So just take it in growth. Targeting your engagement can make a difference in terms of how likely you're going to get return engagement, so keep that in mind. Of course, that doesn't mean you shouldn't respond to larger accounts, just that you shouldn't be angry with larger accounts if they don't respond to your reply. It's a good chance they didn't even see it. The next tip is to find your niche. As you're building up your account, you want to find your niche, especially early on. This is where some of the tools I was talking about earlier came in. The thing that makes BlueSky great is you have a measure of control over the content you see and interact with. Use feeds and lists to gain traction in a community. You can check my prior help videos to get help on how to use feeds and lists. If you're an expert in a field, see if there's a feed dedicated to that field. For example, if you're a scientist or a historian, there are curated feeds you can submit your name to. They'll just ask you to show your credentials. Other feeds just require to use a special hashtag or a word in your post, and it will automatically show up in that feed. The more you know about a subject, the more likely you are to say something unique and interesting about it, and the more likely you are to get someone to follow you because of it. So post what you're an expert in and what you're comfortable with. Same thing with interests. If you have a TV show you like, or a team you're a fan of, or a band you like to listen to, see if there are feeds about them. If there's a musical genre, check for a feed. The more like-minded people you find, the more likely you are to find followers and even friends in those communities. Next, find your voice. Don't begrudge the process. Use the time you spend growing your account to find your voice. You're not going to get anywhere just posting the same thing everyone else is saying. You have a way of expressing yourself that is unique to your history, perspective, upbringing, sense of humor, style, and so on. I firmly believe that everyone is interesting. You just need to find a way to express that part of yourself. The more you post, reply, and engage, the more you'll find that authentic inner voice. And as you find that, you'll gain followers. Think of it like a well. Every post or reply is like a shovel, digging the well. Eventually, you get through, and the well springs up, and that fountain is the pure, authentic you, and people will follow you for who you are, not just a random thing you posted. Finding your voice is the most important thing to gaining followers. And honestly, at the risk of sounding hokey, the most important follower you can gain is yourself when you discover and like who you are. Lastly, and at the risk of sounding condescending, be someone people want to follow. While everything else is something you should do, here I want to mention some things you shouldn't do. But primarily, don't be a jerk. You won't gain a follower if they block you. And this may seem obvious, but weirdly, it isn't. Many people come on here trying to be contentious, odious, obnoxious, obstreperous, or obdurate. These characteristics aren't likely to win you followers. They're more likely to get you blocked. If you begin a lot of replies with, well, actually, argue with articles you haven't even read based on the headline, or find yourself saying, fixed it for you, then you're probably not going to get a lot of followers. Remember, this is social media. So remember the social. Be a social person. You know that guy who sits around the party judging everyone else, and then nobody wants to talk to him? Don't be that guy. I'm not saying you have to agree with everyone. I'm saying engage respectfully, even if you disagree on something they said. Don't alienate allies. Be kind. Be polite. In short, reply unto others as you would have them reply unto you. And that's it. If you apply these practices, I think you'll be helped in growing your account. If you feel you have, please click like and subscribe, and I'll see you around BlueSky.